Say back to the long-term conversation. What is some, common questions that you've had or objections to switching to a short-term model?
I think you brought it up right off the bat. A lot of people think that it's just stranger danger, damage, partying, and that's not. Is there a section of that in the vacation rental industry? Yeah, absolutely. But you're seeing people show up for 2-3 days, and there's still the sense of being a guest. There's much more of a hospitality industry side to it. So you see the bonehead guests.
I feel like in people's minds, they go right to a bachelor party
Yeah,
where it's like,
exactly.
mirrors are getting broken, people are wrestling.
Yes, different games being played. Where there might be a little bit lack of respect. There's insurance and fees in place that the guest pays, unlike long-term rentals, in place to handle those, 3% of reservations that come through your doors. I think that the average 3% of reservations turn into any type of damage claim. But the guest still treats it with a little bit more sense of being a guest, a hospitality type of feel. And they're out of there in 2-3 days. The home's being inspected. The home's being very thoroughly cleaned. And so the damage part is a big, the expression is making mountains out of molehills. It's really not that much of an issue.
That's a really good point, though, that you brought up with the home being inspected every couple days, really, because in long term, whether it's a house or an apartment, it's really not like you're not getting boots on the ground walking through that home, that unit.
Well, some people are comfortable living in their own filth.
Well, and I mean, what's ironic to me, like people don't want to complain about things because they want to be a good resident. It's like your water heater's been leaking for 5 months. Like what? It goes
That's
down the
true.
drain pan. And, really it's going down the drain pan, but it's also creating mold or some, havoc in the walls.
Well, better for worse, the guest who's paying a couple $100 a night at a vacation rental they're picking up the phone and they're going to call
They're
you.
going to let us know when
Yes.
there's problems. And, sure, it's, it can be a lot sometimes, but it's a good thing for the longevity of these properties to have problems, nipped in the bud quickly.
Yes.
And long term, you just don't get that. Properties get used and abused, and people don't want to be a problem. In a lot of cases, I know before I said people call a lot, but you also get the other side of that where people don't, and they just brush it under the rug because it's their home. They don't want people walking through it. We'll just live with the problem. Half the stove hasn't worked in a year, but we're good. And you see that time and time again. So I'm glad you brought up the inspections because that's something you just get more care for your property.
Yeah, and what we're doing, and just so people listening understand, there's a couple processes for dealing with damage at a vacation rental, depending on the platform you're on or if you're on many of them. A lot of times a guest will book, a security deposit will be taken, or there'll be some type of credit card hold on their account until the point of checkout after it's been inspected. I think it's about 24 hours after the guest checks out, you have to submit a damage claim. So if a guest books out, your cleaners come in or you as an owner come in, you inspect your property, you find any damage, you have to work with that booking website that the guest booked over to have the guest payer for the website to reimburse. Every booking website is slightly different. There's ways that you can screen your guests off platform, off these booking websites, and you can charge them a non-refundable guest deposit fee that gives them damage insurance during their stay. So if Craig and a bachelor party of 18 people are going to Minnesota, and this in the Twin Cities, and this home says it sleeps 30 people, and there's the mirrors being knocked off the walls, there's things being flung everywhere, kind of that more rowdy side of things, he would be paying a substantial guest deposit fee that would extend $2,500 of guest damage insurance to that reservation, so that you don't have to go directly to the booking website that it was booked on. You can kind of deal with it as a first line of defense off platform.
And absolutely worth it all across the board in that sense. Because, as a guest, you're going into a home, there's some variables. It could be complete, innocence. You accidentally break something and, hit a wall, lean up on it and something falls. Or, adversely, you could be rowdy and, you shouldn't have done that. But you're covered either way. And, from an owner and company standpoint, it just makes the process so much more simple.